Hi, my name is Diana Walker and I work for the University of Nevada, Reno Extension in the 4-H program. 4-H does youth programming throughout all of Clark County, and during this series of quarantine cooking, I've been teaching people how to cook with things that they have on hand. And today my son Bryson is going to help me to make eggless egg noodles. One of the things that I noticed during the quarantine is sometimes we'd go to the store and there weren't noodles on the shelves. So I thought, well, we used to make noodles when I was a kid. This is a great time to bring that skill back and to teach my own family. Normally when I make egg noodles, obviously I would make them with eggs, but that's another thing that I noticed, that sometimes there weren't eggs available in the stores. And so we're going to do it without eggs. So minimal ingredients, you're gonna need 2 cups of flour. It doesn't matter what kind of flour. I use just all-purpose. There are some people who get really into like the 00 flour or semolina. You can use whole wheat flour if you have it, but like I said, I'm just using all-purpose. So 2 cups of flour, a half a cup of warm or hot water, and a half a teaspoon salt. That's it. So, and the rest is just technique. So I'm gonna show you how to do this really quickly. Bryson, could you get me 2 cups of flour? There's a measuring cup down there, and pour it into this bowl. I'll pour this down so you can kind of see what we're doing here. Okay, so there's one. While he's doing that, I'm going to get a half a cup of water. Okay. Okay, and we're going to make what's called a little well. Come on over and let me show you. Why do you think that's called a well, Bryson? You don't know? You can figure this out. Okay, we're going to take our half a cup of water that we've got in here, and I like to take my little half a teaspoon of salt that I'm going to use, and I like to kind of dissolve it inside of the water for a minute. Especially if you use like a kosher salt or a thicker salt, because you don't want little salt granules in your noodles at all. So that's pretty much there. So we've got our little well, and we're going to pour that in. Now don't worry if it starts to escape, that's okay. It's not a big deal. I'm going to grab a fork. You don't need any kind of special anything here. And you're going to just start, oh, see, we've got kind of a breach there in our little well. You're just going to start kind of mixing that water in. You're not whipping it or beating it, and like I said, it's okay if it starts to escape a little bit. You start to get kind of a little. And you do it this way so you don't get any big lumps of flour. You want kind of consistent. All right. So Bryson, I want you to take your hands, those clean hands that you just washed, and you're going to just start kind of mixing that in, okay? So all that flour, we don't want to waste any of it. You're going to get all that flour mixed in there, okay? So start working that. There you go. Good. Okay, so you'll notice there's still a lot of flour. I'm going to take this, kind of move this onto my counter, move that over. Okay, and I'm going to start kneading. Now when you knead, Bryson, you're going to knead with this, kind of the base of your hand right here, the bottom of your palm. And it's gonna start falling apart and you'll think, oh, this is the worst dough ever, this is terrible, but just be patient, keep working. You don't wanna push too hard, you're just kind of rolling it actually. It's kind of a rolling motion. Kind of get all these little pieces. It won't have the yellow color that an egg noodle does. Here, I'll put this up while I talk a little bit. Egg noodles always have kind of a really pretty egg. Come on over, bud. Okay, so one thing, come on over. He's being shy. One thing when you're kneading this is you have to knead it for 8 minutes. It says that in the recipe. Do you think we actually have to knead it for 8 minutes?
No.
Yes, you do. You have to. And this is going to help develop the gluten. So we're going to do this. I'm going to look at the timer and I'm going to knead this for 8 minutes. Now, when you're kneading, you don't, like I said, you don't have to do it super hard where you tear the dough. See how that tears? You just kind of want to do a nice little roll. And in fact, I've seen people do, because it's a little different, they'll go side to side like this and roll side to side instead of the way that you normally do a bread dough, which is, you know, so they'll kind of roll it. So, Bryson, I'm going to have you knead this for 8 minutes. We're going to put it on time lapse, so I'll see you in a minute. So we have been kneading this dough for 8 minutes. I have one that I did before. As soon as you're done kneading it, you want to wrap it in cellophane or cover it somehow and let it rest. Why do you think we let the dough rest? Any guesses? Okay, so we spent all this time developing the gluten and now we need that gluten to rest, because if we took this dough that we just spent all that time kneading and we try to roll it out, it's so hard. We're not going to be able to roll it nicely to cut our noodles. So we let this rest for about 30 minutes and now we're going to roll it out. You'll notice it'll feel more wet. That's a pretty dry dough. Even this was dry when I put it in here, and then it becomes kind of wet as it rests. And the type of noodle we're going to make today is, I mean, you can make all kinds of things when you roll it out. You can make lasagna noodles, you could make, you know, you could roll out little squares and do raviolis and fill them, or pinch them and make a bow tie pasta. But for our purposes, Bryson and I are just going to do like a fettuccine, or what's called a tagliatelle, which is just basically cutting the noodles. So I'm going to show you how to do this, bud, and then I've got a rolling pin for you. So the whole point, do this really quickly, the whole point with these noodles, see how nice and smooth that's letting me roll because we let that dough rest? It's pretty cool. You're going to do kind of a long rectangle. If you need flour, you can give it a little flour. And we want to roll these really thin. Why do you think they need to be thin?
Because they'll burn. I don't know.
Or they'll be like, have you ever had really thick noodles, like those really thick homemade egg noodles? Sometimes if they're too thick, they're not very good and they don't cook evenly. And there's a saying, Bryson, that you want them thin enough that if you held it up, you could read a love letter through it. So we want it as thin as we can possibly get it. So let's get to work and we'll kind of get those as thin as possible, and then I'll show you kind of how to cut them. I also have on my stove some boiling water going. After you cut this, you don't have to cook it right away. You can actually dry it or pop in the freezer and pull it out when you want it. But we're going to be cooking it today. As far as sauces, you can make a really easy kind of tomato sauce with a can of tomatoes, add some dried herbs, basil, that kind of thing, some garlic pepper or garlic salt, pretty basic. So this is getting thin. See how thin this is? And it doesn't have to be perfect. We're working with kids. Even mine is not perfect, but it's getting there.
Just give her a look.
Give her a look. Can you read a love letter through it? Okay. And Bryson, you've been in 4-H for how many years?
I don't know.
Since you were 9, you started showing pigs, right? At the fair?
4.
Well, before that, because you were helping your brothers, huh? You kind of helped take care of Lucas's animals too. Okay, so it's getting thinner. I don't know if I could read a love letter through it, but we'll give it a shot. Now, oops, we're getting aggressive. Okay. So really quickly, let's show you how to cut them. You're gonna wanna dust it with a little bit of flour because you don't want them to stick. Oh, there you go. So you take it and then you fold it. A little bit more flour. Fold it again. Get a little bit more flour. You just don't want it to stick when you cut it. Okay, so here we are. All right, fold it again. So I'd go this way if you're gonna go. Oops, got a little bit of sticking. There we go. Okay, so here's where you can decide on the width. If you're gonna do a lasagna noodle, you'd go thicker. But like I said, we're doing a tagliatelle. We're just gonna go like this. So Bryson, are you watching and you'll be able to do it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm just cutting right here on my counter. And then hang on one second with that knife. And then I'll take this and just kind of get a little flour on my hands and kind of release those noodles. So decide on how wide you want it. Start on that side. And the thing about this is you don't want them to be perfect. These are rustic noodles made with minimal ingredients. So if you don't find these at the store, kind of get them all separated. Looking good, bud. I like your technique there. Good cutting technique. Okay, so then take your hands and just kind of, you should be able to just fluff them open or roll them. And you'll see, like, if you actually go to Italy or sometimes in Italian restaurants, they'll have noodles that they'll get them together like this and they'll make them into like a little nest, which is kind of cool, and let them dry. So like they'll take it and swirl it on their hands like this. And so you can let that dry. I mean, that's not super beautiful, but and kind of let those dry for a minute. Once our water is boiling, we're gonna pop them in there.
Can we make spaghetti?
Can we make spaghetti? That's a really good question. So if you have an actual, pasta press, you can get really, really fine noodles and then you can make spaghetti. It's pretty hard to make spaghetti when you don't have an actual press.
Thick spaghetti.
If you just want thick spaghetti, this is kind of like spaghetti. But we can make a spaghetti sauce, like a meat sauce, and use it on this. So, okay. Gonna pause it just for a minute, and we'll be back. All right, we've got our water boiling and our tagliatelle pasta. Let's see it. Can you hold it up, bud? Hold it up. Oh, okay. Or throw it up. We're going to gently kind of set this into our boiling water and stir it as we put it in with these tongs. Okay? You can kind of see what's going on here. In fact, let me grab this video.
Individually?
You could do it individually or just kind of a little group. So go ahead and put it in there.
Whoop, 1 minute.
That's all right. Kind of stir it. We've got some red sauce going right here.
John Dim.
So you can kind of set that in.
Right there.
Not great filming here, but the great thing about homemade pasta is that it only takes about 2 minutes to cook because it's fresh. It's fresh pasta. So we're gonna stir this up and we're going to drain it and put some sauce on it. I love doing egg noodle or this eggless egg noodle and using my canned chicken with a couple of things of creamy chicken soup and some herbs and spices to make a really good chicken noodle soup. But Bryson really likes meat sauce, red sauce, so that's what we're doing. So we'll show you the finished product in just a minute. Say hi, Bryson.
So,
Alrighty. Okay, our noodles are finished. We've strained them. We're gonna put them on here. These would be yummy with just some butter on them or a little bit of olive oil or some cheese, just whatever you have. It's quarantine, so sometimes the ingredients we have are in short supply. We're gonna put a little bit of red sauce on this because that's what Bryson likes. And there you go. Thank you for taking the time to join us today and learn what 4-H youth programming is all about. And as I said before, 4-H does youth programming throughout all of Clark County, helping to make the best better with our head, heart, hands, and help. Till next time, bye.